Book haul, baby. Hello, everybody. It's terrific. Thank you for joining me today. I do truly appreciate it. And I'm doing a February 2025 book haul, baby. What I tend to do is when I get really exciting stuff in the mail, I tend to do an unboxing video and show that off. But there are things that I pick up throughout the course of time that it might be cool too, you know. So I do these book haul videos. Some of them are pretty exciting to me. Some of them may even be exciting to you. But anyway, I enjoy it. It's fun. And one of them is going to be an unbagging, and I'll get to that here in a minute. An unbagging from the dog-eared book, baby. But to start this book haul video off, I picked up some books from a variety of places in the month of February, or as my friends in Istachata say, February. And some of them are pretty cool. I went to a bookstore in the Villages just yesterday and actually picked up some neat stuff there too. But to start off, I want to start with one of my favorite authors on God's green earth, and that is Philip Fracassi. And Philip Fracassi busted onto the scene with a limited edition version of Boys in the Valley, published by signed limited edition, published by Earthling Publications as part of their Halloween series. And that book is fabulous. It's taken off, and there's a variety of editions. In fact, this will be the 8th copy on the shelf that I have of Boys in the Valley. All of them different. They're not all exactly the same. But this will be the 8th copy, and this is the Tor Nightfire Trade soft cover edition. And I bought this one on little old Amazon, that little startup company. Ever hear of it? And I'm hoping, I bought tickets to an event in Williamsburg, Virginia a little bit later on this year. And I intend to get this one signed by the Philip, or as his friends call him, Phil. I intend to, hopefully, to get this one signed by Phil while I'm there, get to shake the man's hand, and hang out with my brother for a few minutes. One of my favorite authors on God's green earth, a truly swell fella, and a great author. I've got a whole row right up here, this whole row, Philip Fracassi books. There's not a gelding in the bunch. Every one of them is a stud. And books like A Child Alone with Strangers, Boys in the Valley, Gothic, Serafina. What else do I have up here? Oh, I've got The Third Rule of Time Travel, a sci-fi book about time travel, which is a great one. It should be out very, very soon. I've pre-ordered a couple different versions of that book. But anyway, I had a great opportunity to get this excellent looking Philip Fracassi book added to the collection. A great book, Boys in the Valley. I recommend you check it out. Go get you one on Amazon or any of these. A lot of small press bookstores are selling these books, and Philip sent them signed book plates along with it. So if you find the right stores online, you can order one and it'll have an autographed book plate that you can affix yourself, or you can leave sitting in the book. But I recommend and I vouch for Phil and Boys in the Valley, Philip Fracassi, that is. Another one, probably, it's hard to say, but probably definitely one of my favorite authors on God's green earth is a guy by the name of F. Paul Wilson. And he's written a fabulous series. It's all wrapped up. It's been wrapped up for a while now. About a character called Repairman Jack, the Repairman Jack series. The first book in that series is The Tomb, and it's probably my second favorite book of all time, of all the books that I've read anyway. And this one is By the Sword. It's one of the later additions to the series, and it's a great one, and it's one of my favorites. But I've got all of the signed limited editions of that book from Gauntlet Press, as well as the first book was The Tomb. I've got that from Whispers Press. The last book was Night World, and I've got that from Dark Harvest. And then other publishers like Borderlands Press have published more recent limited edition versions of that, parts of the series. And that's really The Tomb and Night World and other books in the Adversary cycle, but not the rest of these. Anyway, I had all the trade edition hardcovers. Some I bought at the airports, and who knows where I bought them books at. And I decided I wanted to get them all signed. And I haven't met F. Paul Wilson in a long, long time. Years and years ago, I used to be able to see him pretty much every year in Orlando and get a stack of books signed each time. And I've got 6 shelves of F. Paul Wilson books over there. And it's been a long time since I've had a chance to see him. So I decided just to go out and try to find signed versions of some of these books that I'd have that aren't signed. By the Sword was the penultimate book in my needs list to have this set all completed, signed, first edition, first print, trade hardcovers of this set. And so I picked this one up on the eBay at a good price, and it's signed by F. Paul Wilson there. Fabulous author, I strongly recommend. And it's a first edition, first print. You can see that number line there goes all the way down to 1, printed in 2008 by Tor Forge. There's that one. For me, it's a good one to the collection. My favorite series, and almost completely achieved goal there. Here's something I picked up. I saw on the Facebook. There's this author on the Facebook, and his name is Nick Roberts, and he advertised this comic book, this collection. It is Monstrous Books #2, the magazine of macabre and mysterious. And not only does the time machine kick in here with the Morlocks, this is time travel issue, Rise of the Morlocks and Other Tales. So the cover I liked, I did dig it, man. But it's also got a couple of signatures. One, James Aquilone, the man behind Monstrous Books, signed on the talk right under Rise of the Morlocks by James Aquilone and J.K. Woodward. And then also Nick Roberts, a fabulous author there. He has a short story included in this edition, this book #2, On a Later Day by Nick Roberts, and he is also signed right there. So it's a limited edition. It is mostly, or part of it anyway, would be a comic. And then it also includes a magazine, is what it is. I don't know why that's so hard. On a Later Day by Nick Roberts, with artwork there. Looking really good. And there's all sorts of cool stuff in here. An interview with Malcolm McDowell. Timeless, time after time. Ever hear of Malcolm McDowell? The Chronic Argonauts, A Story Out of Time by Jim Faherty. So a neat thing. A chance to get some signatures on it. It's also got, what has it got here? You can't have a time travel book with Morlocks on the front without having H.G. Wells involved. The Chronic Argonauts. So H.G. Wells is involved as well. One of the greats. And then there's some more. I've shown you quite a few things from Monstrous Books over the years that have kickstarted additions to the collection. And this was just a little cool edition. I bought it from Nick Roberts on Nick Roberts' website. I don't know how many copies he had, but he didn't have many. I got one. I got one indeed, at least. Another book. This is a book, I think it might have been my very first YouTube video, was an unboxing of Josh Malerman's Bird Box from SST Publications. And somewhere along the way, I ended up selling that book. I sold the book. But I always liked it because it's an important book for Josh Malerman. And it looked so good. And when I first took notice of SST Publications, this was one of the couple of books that I looked at thinking, man, this thing looks so good. I really want it. I want it. Even though I haven't read the book, I wanted it. So I bought it. And then I ended up realizing, hey, this thing's worth a whole lot more to some people than it is to me. So I moved it on down the line, you know. But SST is one of the all-time greats. And you can see that dust jacket artwork. It does look fabulous. Bird Box, the book that started, it was a big deal on Netflix for a little while, and probably the biggest deal in terms of most read books by Josh Malerman. But the dust jacket artwork just looks so good by Ben Baldwin, a fabulous, fabulous artiste. that SST Publications has used quite a bit. And I'm not going to show you everything about it, but just a rundown. SST, a cloth-bound book, hot foil stamping on the spine. It looks so good. Looks so good. It is a signed, limited edition. This one is copy number 26 of 400, signed, sort of, I guess you call it signed by Josh Malamena Squiggle, and then actually signed by Ben Baldwin, the artiste. Let me flip through here and show you just some of the Ben Baldwin artwork included. I was able to get this book for a great deal on the Facebook, and it was an offer I couldn't refuse. So I added it back to my collection after feeling like, man, I probably should have kept that book, and I didn't. Sometimes that happens. You get rid of something, then you wish you had it back, or you pass on something, and then later on you regret it, wishing you'd have gotten it. But anyway, I got it back. I bought it right. It's on the shelf to stay this time, unless something happens, you know. Anyway, it's on the shelf to stay, and it's a good one. It's one of the great ones from SST Publications. One of the important ones, and like I said, I wasn't introduced to them by this book, but I was introduced to them when I went shopping for Joe Lansdale books on their website, and I saw some others available, like this one, like The Only Good Indians by Stephen Graham Jones. They looked so good, I didn't know the authors, and I jumped in. All right, what else? I was eBay shopping. Everybody was eBay shopping. But I like a guy by the name of Ray Bradbury. Ever hear of him? And Easton Press published some pretty cool Ray Bradbury editions. And here's one that I did not have that I have now added to the collection. And that is, what is it? It is Upside Down. There you go. That's the Upside Up. Upside Down is wrong. There we go. Dandelion Wine by Ray Bradbury and Easton Press. You have a leather-bound book, hot foil stamping all around, 22-karat gold gilded page edges, a built-in satin ribbon bookmarker, and lots of other things. We have the Collector's Notes, Dandelion Wine by Ray Bradbury, a letterpressed page that talks a little bit about the book. This is an older edition that has the older end papers. They are actually paper end papers instead of the chamois or whatever they call it. So I don't know what they call it stuff. That ribbed, edged stuff. Our frontispiece. The artwork there. And I don't think this one is further illustrated. Some of their books are chock full of illustrations and some are not. And I don't think this one has any other interiors, but I'll flip through real quick just to make sure I didn't miss anything. But it's a nice book for the shelf. I've got several Bradbury Easton Press editions, and that's what you see there if you're going to read an edition like this. But they look good. And my wife has a few times anyway said, I wished all of your books looked like that when she sees I have a shelf, which is all Easton Press. She says, I wish your whole collection looked like that. And it's just, you probably could. I've seen stacks and stacks on walls full of Easton Press books. Just most of them are books I don't want. So that's the deal. But anyway, I was glad to get that one and added it to the collection. A couple more stops. I went to a bookstore in the Villages in North Central Florida. I guess that'd be North Central Florida. The Villages. That's where lots and lots of people from different places that want to retire and move to Florida. A lot of them are now moving to a place called The Villages. You drive around this town, it's got every doctor, 10 versions of every doctor on earth is there. You have every sort of entertainment from live to electronic to everything else. And you can drive golf carts around town legally there. They're driving in the roads. They're parking in the grocery store parking lots. They're everywhere. Watch out for the golf carts in the Villages. They're everywhere. And they don't always care about the rules of the road or whether or not you're paying attention to them. Anyway, I did it. I weathered the storm in the Villages. I even weathered a few disgruntled people who felt like in this bookstore they weren't getting what they wanted. But it's a great bookstore, and very kind people putting up with some folks that are not so kind. It's called All Booked Up on 271 Colony Boulevard in the Villages. Their phone number, if you want to give them a call, 352-350-6669. And so February 26th, I was there. And I picked up a few books, and I got a pretty good price on them books. And the first one I want to show you is an Ira 11 book that I always wanted to read. Didn't always want it, but I wanted to read it. I've been wanting to read it for a while, and I didn't have any copies. It's on the list, and it's called The Boys from Brazil. And I really loved The Stepford Wives. I really loved Rosemary's Baby, and that's all I've read from Ira 11. Great books, and I wanted to see what this thing be all about. This is a super thriller. Ira 11 has conceived an idea which goes beyond anything in conventional cliffhangers. It'll startle even the jaded who think they've read it all. Scattered throughout the world, 94 men, each one a civil servant, each one approaching retirement, each one harmless, unknown to the other, each one marked for death, hiding in the jungles of Brazil, a Nazi scientist with a diabolical plan to create a new Hitler and the deadly means to carry it out. Sounds interesting. But this is an old, you see the page ends are all sprayed. It's an old, very nice condition. It looked unread to me. No creases on the spine or anything like that. Adele book from Adele. No, it's not from Adele. It's a Dell book. It's the new Dell edition. First printing, October 1978. So I got that going for me, which is nice. A book to read, but also a book that is so nice and it smells so good, like an old book should. That's The Boys from Brazil by Ira 11. A neat little find. Another thing, I'm a collector from a guy named Robert McCammon. Never hear of him? And I have this book. I have two versions of this book, both signed limited editions, one from SST Publications and one from CD. And this one is the trade hardcover edition that I did not have. And I've been seeing, 3 years running now, Robert McCammon at an event in Birmingham, Alabama. I've been able to see him and get some books signed. And I decided I wanted to get this first edition here, signed by Robert McCammon for the collection. That's The Listener 2018. This was a trade from CD, and they did a pretty good job here with, I'm not sure what you'd call this material, but it's like a paper covered trade edition from CD. And then last, but not even last at all, I picked up a trade hardcover edition of Boy's Life. And I've got a signed trade hardcover edition of Boy's Life already. And I just figured, when I saw Robert McCammon the last time I was there, I had an extra book, and somebody actually was looking for an extra book, so I was able to give it away. And this is the first edition, first print copy of Boy's Life, one of Robert McCammon's two most famous books from Pocket Books. And it was a great price and a good shot, and it looked good. So I picked it up, and I'll figure out what to do with it when I get there. I'll figure it out on the day. You know what I'm saying? And then finally, now the last thing to pick up. I went online at the Dog-Eared Book, and I found that they had a signed copy of a new book where I pre-ordered it. It was a new book from an author that I've read two books from. In fact, my son told me there's a movie coming out called Mickey 17. And I've never read a book called Mickey 17, but I did read a book called Mickey 7 by an author named Edward Ashton. And so I'm online, and I don't even remember how I stumbled into this, but I stumbled into the fact that this company has pre-orders for sale of an upcoming book from Edward Ashton. And the book is called The Fourth Consort. There you go, Mickey 17, Mickey 7. The Fourth Consort from the Dog-Eared Book. Dog-Eared Book, from the Dog-Eared Book. And this was a signed trade hardcover edition that from the author of Mickey 7, the inspiration for the major motion picture, Mickey 17. It's a standalone book. I'm pretty sure it has nothing to do with Mickey 7, although it looks like it possibly could just from the cover artwork there. And there is the spine, and it does look good. St. Martin's Press. And let me take off this dustity jacket. Show you what she looks like all stretched out. This paper dust jacket there. And there's Edward Ashton smiling for the camera. What do we have? So it is a trade hardcover, paper covered boards. Looks like a glued binding. If you can see there, can I see here? Is it? No, it's not. It is a sewn binding with the paper boards. Hot foil stamping on the spine. And it is supposed to be signed. Greetings from Unity. There we go. What is that? That's just that's a card. Greetings from Unity. And it is signed indeed by Edward Ashton. Not the prettiest signature, but a signature nonetheless. And signed is always better. And that's the fourth consort there. And what else? What else? Let's see what St. Martin's Press does with their first print books. The number line goes all the way down to 1. But let me find my missing dust jacket here. Put it back on, and we'll see what this book is about. See what the book is about. Put the dust jacket back on. Talks a bit about Edward. They got a long explanation here on the front. And that is, Dalton Greaves is a hero. He's one of humankind's first representatives to Unity, a pan-species confederation working to bring all sentient life into a single benevolent brotherhood. That's the way they told him anyway. But the only members of Unity he's met so far are Boro, a giant snail who seems more interested in plunder than spreading love and harmony, and Boro's human sidekick, Nira, who Dalton strongly suspects roped him into this gig so she wouldn't become the next of Boro's crew to get eaten by locals while prospecting. Funny thing, though, turns out there actually is a benevolent confederation out there working for the good of all life. They call themselves the Assembly. They don't like Unity, and they really don't like Unity's new humanoid minions. When an encounter between Boro's scout ship and an Assembly cruiser ends badly for both parties, Dalton finds himself marooned on a newly discovered planet, caught between a stickman, one of the Assembly's nightmarish shock troops. The planet's natives, who aren't winning any congeniality prizes, bring themselves and Nira, who might actually be the most dangerous of the three. To survive, he'll need to navigate palace intrigue, alien mortality, and a proposal that he literally cannot refuse, all while making sure Nira doesn't decide he's worth more to her dead than alive. And I read 2 books from Edward Ashton, Mickey 7 and the time, what was it called? Antimatter Blues, a sequel to Mickey 7. So both books I read were part of that series, which is 2 books deep, at least at this point. I really loved them both. And therefore I say what Edward Ashton has coming out, I get. And when I get a chance, I read. And until he proves otherwise, I'm an Edward Ashton guy. Making room on the shelves for new Edward Ashton books, and signed is better. And the dog-eared book hooked the brother up with one right here. That is the 4th consort. And with that being said, I'm at the end of my book haul. All I've got left is trash. And I can think of no more lies to tell, so thank you for your time. I do truly appreciate it, and c'est la vie, baby. Doo-doo. Hey, Booksy, I want to do one of those videos where people are reading books in exotic locations to kind of show up on the internet. All right?
It's recording right now.
Oh, okay, good. Oh, wait. The Invisible Man by H.G. Wells. The movie truly is better than the book. I love reading in nature.